Let's jump right into it. We're diving deep into some source material today, all about writing effective prompts for AI models. If you're using tools like ChatGPT or maybe Bard or Claude, figuring out how to talk to them, it can feel a bit like a puzzle, right?
Right. And what our sources really highlight, pretty much up front, is just how, well, fundamental this skill is actually becoming. Writing a good prompt isn't just like a nice to have. It's really the critical difference between getting genuinely useful, accurate information or getting something completely useless or confusing.
Yeah, totally useless.
It's not just about getting an answer. It's about getting the right answer, the way you actually need it.
Exactly. So our mission here in this deep dive is to really distill the most important techniques from these sources, almost like getting a shortcut, maybe, to thinking like an expert prompt engineer. The material gives some really practical guidance, clear steps, helpful examples too. It shows that mastering this isn't some kind of abstract art. It involves specific techniques you can learn and apply, and that should significantly improve your results.
Yeah, the core idea is basically that you're guiding the AI. You're giving it the best possible instructions to sort of access and process that vast amount of information it holds.
Yeah.
And then return exactly what you need.
Okay, so where do we start? The sources give us a foundational principle. It seems simple, but apparently vital. Be concise. Why is cutting words so important when you're talking to an AI? Doesn't more detail help?
Well, that's the counterintuitive part, isn't it? The sources tell us that unnecessary words, complex sentence structures, or even including multiple unrelated ideas in just one prompt can genuinely confuse the AI.
Oh, okay.
It's like adding static to the signal. By being concise, you reduce that noise.
Yeah.
You help the AI focus only on the essential requests. You're just making it easier for the model to understand the core of your query.
Like that simple example they gave. Suggest a name for a flower shop that sells bouquets of dried flowers. Short, crystal clear, gets right to the point. No extra fluff.
Exactly. And once you're concise, the next critical piece the sources emphasize is being specific and well-defined. Because vague prompts, they lead directly to generic, often pretty unhelpful answers.
Right. So you need to clearly tell the AI exactly what you want it to do, specifying the task, maybe the format, the context, any specific requirements you have.
That's it. Instead of something vague like tell me about Earth, the sources suggest something much more specific, like generate a list of ways that makes Earth unique compared to other planets.
I see.
You've defined the task, generate a list, the subject Earth, and the specific angle unique comparisons.
And speaking of clear tasks, the sources point out another pitfall, trying to cram too much into one prompt. They recommend you ask one task at a time.
Yeah, this is crucial because while these AI models are powerful, they can really struggle when asked to juggle, unrelated ideas at the same time. Asking, what's the best method of boiling water and why is the sky blue? In one go.
Right.
Now the sources illustrate that's likely to just confuse the AI. You'll get a garbled or maybe incomplete answer.
So simply splitting that, two separate prompts. What's the best method of boiling water? And then, why is the sky blue? That helps the AI focus its resources, right? Gives you a much better, more relevant answer for each question.
Precisely. It's about simplifying the cognitive load for the model.
Okay, now here's where we get into some techniques that seem to significantly improve reliability. The sources suggest that when possible, you should turn generative tasks into classification tasks. That sounds a bit technical. Why is that such a powerful technique?
Let's unpack that a bit. A generative task is, well, open-ended, like describe X or write a story about Y. The AI is creating something new based on its training data. But that's also where you get those hallucinations. Sometimes the AI confidently making up plausible sounding but actually incorrect information.
Ah, right, the made-up stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you convert an open-ended task into something the AI can classify or maybe decide on from a predefined set of options you provide, you significantly reduce the chances of those hallucinations.
So you're constraining it.
You're shifting the AI's job from, creative generation to a more constrained choice between options you've already validated.
The example they use here is excellent. Instead of asking the open-ended, describe the sentiment of this tweet, you phrase it like, decide whether a tweet sentiment is positive, neutral, or negative. You've given it the exact categories, limits its creative freedom, but in a good way for accuracy.
Right. And to really nail the desired format and quality, especially for complex or nuanced requests, the source is highly recommended including examples in your prompt.
Ah, providing examples. Yeah, that makes sense. To guide the AI towards the kind of output you're looking for.
Exactly. Whether you provide 0 examples, that's 0 shot, or 1 example, 1 shot, or maybe a few examples, few shot, adding just 1 or 2 examples can make a huge difference. It helps the AI understand the format, the tone, the style you expect. You're basically showing it what good looks like for your specific task.
They also talk about using system instructions or setting a persona. That's to reduce output variability.
Yes, that's about setting boundaries or specific behavior expectations for the AI before you even give it the main prompt. Like telling it, you are an AI chatbot for a travel website. Your primary function is travel queries. If a question is outside your mission, respond. Sorry, I can't answer that. Yeah.
Gotcha. Keeps it on track.
Keeps the AI focused, prevents it from going off topic or adopting some weird style you don't want.
And we touched on it earlier, but it's definitely worth repeating. Always be aware of hallucinations.
Absolutely. The sources really underscore that. While these techniques help, AI can still generate plausible but factually incorrect stuff, especially with very specific facts or maybe real-time data it wasn't trained on. Clear instructions and limiting the scope minimize this, but, critically reviewing the output is always necessary on your end.
Good point. Finally, the sources emphasize that prompt engineering isn't a one-and-done thing. It's fundamentally iterative. You have to test and refine your prompts.
This might actually be the most important takeaway about the practice of prompt engineering. Small changes in wording or structure or adding an example, they can dramatically change the result. So you try a prompt, you look at what the AI gives you back, you figure out what wasn't quite right, you tweak the prompt based on that, and you try again. It's a loop, really, experimentation and improvement.
Okay, so let's quickly pull it all together then. What's the main takeaway from these sources?
Basically, writing better prompts directly leads to higher quality, more reliable, and just more useful outputs from AI models. It's a skill worth building.
And the key tools they give us, the core techniques.
It really all boils down to clarity, specificity, structure, and iteration. Be clear and specific in what you want. Structure your prompt effectively, like one task at a time or using classification. Add examples or system instructions where they might help. And crucially, always be prepared to test and refine.
That makes so much sense. Okay, final thought then. If the whole process of getting good results from AI is fundamentally this iterative loop, this testing and refining your approach, what does that suggest to you about the mindset you should probably adopt when using any AI tool, really, for any kind of task?